Hello and welcome to this video and happy Halloween! Now we are going to unbox the Elves box, which is Halloween themed. So let's have a look inside. I really like that Sophie and Toffee sometimes uses bubble wrap to protect the items inside. And as always, first is the booklet, and the theme is spooky cookies, which also is seen on the cover, so I'm really excited for that. And of course here's their social media information on the back of the card. Now our first item is this UV LED crystal gel. So this is a gel, so it's a bit more viscous than the normal UV resin. And then we have these 3 piping bags. It feels like they're double bagged and all of them come with different tips. So we have white, black and orange. I wonder if they actually work like these deco creams that you can get, or if they have like a softer texture, kind of like paste clay. So I'm definitely going to try them out today. And next up we have 2 pop sockets. Now I really want to see which kind of pop socket they are, so let's have a look. And of course I had a really hard time grabbing that thin plastic. And it's an actual like soft plastic silicone type pop socket, and not just one of these with like the hinged plastic thingies or one with the like interlocking rings of plastic. So I'm happy about that. Now let's have a look at the molds we get today. So first up we have 2 cookies, and all of the molds are textured like cookies and melt. So we have one blank one and one with spider webs. Then we have this lovely pumpkin with engraved face and this little skull. And then we have these 3 like gingerbread type cookies. One bear one with like a skeleton, and one that's mummy decorated. Next up we have some bezels, and they all look super detailed, so I'm super excited. So first up, zombie gingerbread. Then we have a mummy one. Then a skeleton one, kind of like the designs we got on the cookies. Then we have a really good stitched up one. And then we get this pumpkin and this skeleton skull. And we also get some of their newer odorless LED resin, which I'm also really excited about to see if it's actually odorless. And then we have some white, black, brown and orange mica powders, and they're so shimmery and shiny. And we get sprinkles! Black, purple and orange ones at that, so they definitely fit the theme. And they come in this really nice bottle that has like a tiny opening, so you can shake them on and they will fall more randomly, hopefully. And lastly we get some embeds. We get some vampires, skulls with bows and eyes, and they come in a larger and a smaller version. Now let's have a look inside of this booklet. As always, we start out with all of the items that we got inside of this box. And we see all the types of sprinkles and all the foam grips and stuff they included, and it doesn't seem like there's any exclusive or random things throughout this box. So I guess everybody will get the same. Now here we can see the steps, and they say we should use the UV resin as a liner, and I suspect they mean the crystal LED resin, because this one is a bit more viscous, as I said, so it will hold up better. And feel free to stop the steps, I'm gonna skip through them a little bit. Now as for the whip clay, as they call it, they say to mix water in to make it a flat consistency for like icing, but they also show how they pipe it on. So I'm not quite sure. They say it's whipped clay, so it probably doesn't work for piping as well, but just for filling in, but we will see later. And here's the rest of the steps for the decorations and stuff, and to give you some tips and tricks on how to make the cookies look great. And on the last 2 pages we have some wax winners and some really cool things people created. I especially love this like tiny house which has like lights inside. It's very cute, and the dice also look really awesome. Anyways, let's get to crafting. I wanted to make some different cookie versions, and I decided to go with the ones that have something on them. So I decided to go with the pumpkin, the skull, and all of the gingerbread cookies. And for the gingerbread ones, I decided to also shade them, kind of like when they're baked, like shading the edges. So I'm using this brown pigment they included and just dusting it, and then I'm blending it out a bit with my makeup brush, and I also included some like tightly skin toned makeup, like cheap makeup, basically just micropigments, but it works really great. And now that we have that, let's open up the odorless resin. Now these things are always really hard to open because they don't have like a thing where you can grab onto, so I just use my Cricut tool to open them. But always make sure that you use tools that you don't mind getting resin on, because you probably will. Now I use the same like skin toned makeup that I used for the shading, and I'm using some brown, and to avoid lumps I'm mixing it in a small amount of resin first and then adding the rest of the resin, and it gives it a really even coloration. And since I used these tiny mixing cups, of course I had to mix up multiple batches, but that's not that much of a problem. I managed to fill up all the cookies, and when I mold them they have this really nice outer edge that makes them look like they're fresh out of the oven. Now of course they're a little bit see-through because I didn't use opaque pigments, but I also didn't want to use too many of these pigments because the micropigments are shiny, so I decided, you know, just go with it. They will be decorated anyway, so it doesn't matter if they're slightly see-through. As for the pumpkin and the skull, I decided to go for the slider sugar cookie look without any shading, and I just hope that the decoration will fix it and make it actually look like a cookie. And they have a really nice texture, they feel actually really soft. I like the texturing of like especially the pumpkin and the skull, but the other cookie textures with the matte they added to the mold, it's like super nice. Definitely would make some great foam grips. Now let's get to decorating. Contrary to their recommendations, I didn't use the cookie cream for these ones. I actually wanted to make it look like kind of an icing cream. So I mixed some resin with a lot of the white, and I also made the bed with the black, and then I used a toothpick and filled in every single one of the gaps on this one. And let me tell you, it took ages. Now, of course, maybe me, I also wanted to have a contrasting outline, so in the end I went in with black and basically did the same. For the skeleton I went around with black, and for the mummy I decided to like do the resin, like the resin like lines for the tissue paper or whatever in black. And of course I did that after curing, but I also used this type of like icing for the cookies that have the skull and the pumpkin, and I have to say it definitely to me looks like icing and it looks super fun and I like it. But of course you can always use their provided clay stuff. For the pumpkin I went with some glittery greens and this super pretty pigmented orange. I love this pigment. It came in one of the boxes previously. I think it was the honeybee box or something like that. And it just so pigmented and so beautiful and so vibrant that I really like to use it for anything pumpkin. I even used it last year in the pumpkin video I made with like the pumpkin lights. And of course I'm curing between every single layer because resin tends to mix. And afterwards it's just filling in the black of the eyes with something. Now I noticed, and you will see in the end, that the resin didn't quite adhere. I think the texture of the cookies is a little bit too soft. Like, it's on there and it's in there and it holds up, but there's like things that kind of look like tiny lift-ups or bubbles underneath that appeared when I cured it. So possibly this cookie texture definitely is way too soft and doesn't even handle the resin that well, but you cannot really notice, so I don't mind. Now, as for the piping thing, I tried piping them in a nice thing, but you cannot really make any nice shapes while piping. Some of them is too liquid, some of them are way too like hard, like the black one took me really a lot of effort to press out. The orange and the white were pretty nice and creamy. So in the end I just again went in with a toothpick and mixed them, and I thought stripe would look boring, so I swirled them around a little bit and made a kind of abstract piece. Now this was, since this only was like basically to like test out the colors and the pipeability, I, put all on one cookie. Of course I would have probably separated the colors onto different cookies when I went honestly into this, but this is just a trial piece and I have to say I still like it, and the sprinkles adhered very very well to the cream. As for the cream texture, when it dried, it kind of felt like very well conditioned polymer clay, but air dry. So it has a really nice and smooth texture, and not like most air dry clays I've used before, so it doesn't feel porous, it's very even. And it dried pretty 3D also, which is really nice. It sunk like a tiny little bit, but the sprinkles are really in there. I tried to pick one out and I had a hard time doing that. Of course you can get them out with some force, but they will not just randomly fall off, at least not on my cookie. Now, what are my opinions on this box? It was Halloween themed, it has some great detailed bezels inside, and the colors were definitely all fitting for Halloween. I'm not quite sure if everybody associates cookies with Halloween. I definitely associate sweets more. And of course, like, cookies for me are more Christmassy, but I still really liked it. I know there's people that make cookie art for all different kinds of events, and I always thought it was amazing how detailed the cookies could get and stuff, but they weren't permanent, they were meant to be eaten, so having something that you can decorate with like resin and stuff that's permanent and then you can display maybe in like a little bag or something like that and give to people is a really neat idea. And of course, since I love Halloween and it's my favorite type of holiday, I really enjoyed this box. And the great thing is you can decorate many different pieces with this type of cream. You don't have to only decorate cookies. And since there was some blank ones, like one of the blank gingerbreads and the blank round one, you can let your creativity flow and even decorate it with any other thing you want. And of course, any other holiday or decoration you want. So you can make an Easter one and stuff, definitely all fitting. Or of course, the kind of closest for, if you think about it, Christmas cookies. Like a gingerbread man, who would have thought. But yeah, overall, really lovely box. Still don't quite understand why they didn't give us like just a piping fib that's like round or flat or something like that to fill in larger areas, because the stuff is really too soft to like pipe it into like shapes, but maybe it was cheaper to get those plastic tips. Anyways, I don't mind, they were nice to pipe and it was fun decorating these cookies. Anyways, I hope you liked this video, and I wish you all a lovely Halloween, and hopefully you guys have a fun time putting on costumes and maybe having a little party with your friends or going outside trick-or-treating, depending on where you live and if it's actually a thing you do over there. Wish you all a great day. Bye!